welcome to another episode of the Pulse of Fins Nation. I'm your host, Louis Sung, and I am joined today by my co-host, Ron Caniff, and recurring guest and a good friend of ours, Chad Ronenbaum, who is here to talk about many things going on with the Miami Dolphins, as well as some things going on that may be happening in the future, which, well, may or may not be happening in the future. But before we get too far into anything, I just want to go ahead and mention really quickly, all of us, the show was postponed until today. That is in light of what happened with Damar Hamlin during the Cincinnati Bengals and Buffalo Bills matchup. It was heart-wrenching, to say the least. I actually had not been watching the game. It wasn't until my father had texted me and said, "Did you see what's going on?" I had no idea. I'm like, "No, what's going on?" And I went on to Twitter, which is the end-all be-all of news nowadays, and I find out that the man had collapsed on the field, and that apparently now, as it's coming out, he suffered cardiac arrest. The paramedics there did a fantastic job. They basically kept him alive until he was able to get to the hospital. He actually went to the same hospital that Tua went to when he suffered his concussion in Cincinnati. So the trauma center is, so far, no new updates. He's still in critical condition, but there does seem to be some signs of encouragement, and for that, we are very happy to hear. His charity is now up to $6 million that has been raised, and it was supposed to be a small number, like 25,000 or something like that. And now it's very, very encouraging to see that humanity still has the ability to come together as one, and it's not always going to war with each other. So our thoughts and our prayers are with Damar Hamlin, his loved ones, and hoping that not only will we eventually, that he will come out of this going well, he will one day, who knows, come back to continue chasing his dream. So now then, do you or Chad, do you or Ron have anything you guys want to bring up regarding this whole thing? Any thoughts about the whole situation?
No, sir.
I don't really have too many thoughts either. I think that overall the fan bases for all teams around, I think, have been pretty prudent. I think, this is a guy that's not just fighting for his life right now. I think you got to keep in perspective. You don't know if he's going to have any complications. Will he be debilitated? What kind of a condition, is his brain in, and stuff like that when he does come to. And so it's not just about him. Oh, he made it. Let's move on. I think it's great that his charity's been raised $6 million. I think that's shown a lot of what fan bases are made of. But I think the NFL needs to step up here and needs to make sure this man and his family are well taken care of, for the rest of his life, not just his charity, because he's going to have a long road of recovery ahead of him. And I think everything's kind of still frozen because, he's not even conscious yet. And so we don't even know what road lies ahead of him yet, or if he's actually going to even make it yet. And so I think that if you're out here and one of these people that are complaining about Buffalo not playing this week or what you're doing with Buffalo, you just got to keep in perspective that's a close friend and a teammate. And I think the priority has to be what's going to happen with him more than what's Buffalo's next game going to be. And I hope the NFL does the right thing. And if we need to delay the season for a week or 2 weeks or whatever it takes, that to me is completely justified. And I hope that that's the course they take.
It's hard not to think about ways you couldn't justify it, because this whole thing has pretty much rocked the NFL to its core. It reminds everybody that on the one hand, in a very brutish, sort of primitive sort of way, we all gather together around the TVs and at the stadium to watch these guys crash into each other at full speed. And
Right.
It sometimes is lost on us that these guys are crashing into each other on purpose at full speed. And the level of impact that can have on a human body, there's a reason they wear all that padding. And even then, most of the time, it's really not enough. Like, there's no way to properly prepare for that kind of impact. And at the same time, this is where the NFL is very cloudy, because if you took away a lot of that, then it's not the NFL anymore, Like, that is the whole point, in a way.
I think the NFL's got a large stage, but it's a violent sport. I mean, you can't tell me that people haven't been seriously injured doing ultimate fighting or something like that.
Yep.
People like violent sports. I think in reality, you make the choice if you're going to play this sport or not. And whether you're a high school player, a college player, or a professional player, you're playing a violent sport. At least they're getting at the professional level, and now a little more at the collegiate level, they're getting more compensated for doing something that's so violent. But I do think the NFL, being critical, can do a lot more for their players. I think I read somewhere that a player gets 5 years of health care after he's out of the league, and then they cut him off and they're on their own. And I think they, considering, like, you look at the money that just got done with Google on the next TV and streaming deal, I think the NFL can do a better job at taking care of the players that aren't playing anymore. It's easy to have your heroes you're watching on game day, but you don't realize 5 years from now all the people, you don't even forget who they even were, because they're not in the NFL anymore. And whether those guys are suffering, hip or knee or chronic arthritis or CTE or whatever, that's where I think the NFL needs to focus on, is taking good care of those guys.
My father mentioned that as a college player, Nick Bonacani's son ended up being paralyzed. So,
and he ended up suffering from CTE, I believe, too, right? At the end of his life, Nick Bonacani did.
That's beyond my time.
Yeah, so there's no way around that being violent. That's why people like it, and I do think, with the times, you look back at somebody, let's say smoking, for example. If you were smoking, say in 1940, you didn't understand how detrimental it is. But if you smoke today, you do understand, if you're smoking, you are doing something that's detrimental to your health. And so I do think the players understand, they take that risk to play the sport, but it doesn't lessen the impact of how awful it is when somebody goes through something like that. I mean, that was a freak accident, and it's just terrible. But again, to me, I don't know how much you can do proactively, but I think the NFL can do a lot more after the fact and reactively to help take care of these guys. That's what I hope with Hamlin, that if anything comes of it, is that the NFL maybe will be a little more pressure to step up a little bit, because I don't think they do enough to the past players to look after them, for considering how much money is involved in this.
I can agree with that. Well, like I said, thoughts and prayers are going out to Damar Hamlin and his family, his loved ones, and hopefully he pulls through, and he's, in, who knows, in best case scenario, he goes back on the field and he starts knocking some heads around back to normal. So, yeah. In any case, we are gonna actually talk about the Miami Dolphins, I promise, but I just felt it was prudent that we bring it up and talk about this, because in some ways it actually is related to some of the things that the Dolphins are going through right now. Again, the whole Tua Tagovailoa thing, that was a very similar situation. Hamlin obviously is a much more extreme, and just when you thought it couldn't get more extreme than what we saw with Tua. So, but before we go ahead and mention it, I just need to make sure that we mention it, because as sponsors, they are entitled to being mentioned. It is PrizePicks.com. They are the revolutionary fantasy platform where you can pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. You can pick people from the NBA. You can pick players from the MLB. And, of course, you can still pick players from the NFL to go ahead and see if they will get the over or the under on whatever stats you're looking for. Just last night, I actually won 3 of those 2-player power plays and ended up getting some nice little cash in my pocket. So I'm getting better at it, I think. But if you want to go ahead and jump in on that, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you first sign up. Again, that's the promo code 5, FIVE. Go to prizepicks.com right now and get yourself started today. So, all right, guys. So let's actually talk some Miami Dolphins football. So obviously, the Miami Dolphins season is now hanging by a thread, and yet at the same time, they don't need nearly as much help as they have in years past, and that's possibly because of the winning that they did earlier in the midseason. We never thought that we were going to be here. Let's be perfectly honest. We thought for sure the Dolphins were going to be a playoff team just based on the high-powered offense that they were putting on the field. They were able to score 30 points a game, and then I don't know what happened right after San Francisco. everything fell apart all at once. I don't know what it was. Was it the blueprint had been figured out? Was it that Tua was being too aggressive and teams were playing off of that? Is it because he's a one-read quarterback? Is it because the defense can't keep can't keep points off the board and forces the offense to be perfect? There are plenty of theories to go around, but as of right now, the running theory, at least in my mind, is that Miami is just at the point where they're too injured to keep going. Because just based on, I'll talk about the defense, for instance. Like the defense, you lost Emmanuel Ogbah for the season. You lost Nick Needham early in the season. That was one of your reserve guys. You lost Trill Williams before the regular season even started. That was supposed to be another top reserve guy that never got a chance to play.
He isn't really a number. I mean, we can list a bunch of names. I don't really count him as a name.
Who, Trill Williams?
Yeah, I don't.
I mean, he was doing really good.
He was doing great, but we really have no idea what his participation would have been, what his contribution would have been if it had been any.
No,
I mean, we can name him, but I think we're just trying to make the long list longer by naming him.
I mean, but he was going to be. It wasn't like he was just going to be a fringe training can't cut. Ron, he was going to be on the roster. Like
he was going to be on the roster. I just don't know how much. Well, given the injury, perhaps
he was doing more than Keon Crossan.
He was going to be a starter, but
he was going to do more than Keon Crossan. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe that's the spot he would have held.
But and by the way, he was also gonna play over Kader Kohu. Let's be real about something here. So, and again, granted, giving Kader Kohu all the credit in the world. He's an undrafted free agent rookie out of Texas A&M Commerce, a school that I didn't even know existed up until this year when he showed up. So again, in light of everything that's happened, Kohu's been awesome, but he was not supposed to be starting. He was not supposed to be a starter. It was supposed to be Xavier Howard, Byron Jones, and then whoever happened to be underneath those two. And
Nick Needham.
Nick Needham.
Third, yeah.
Nick Needham was supposed to be number 3, and he went down. And then we went and signed Mackenzie Alexander off the street, and he didn't even get a chance to play in the regular season because he went down. So the secondary has been so utterly mutilated over the course of this season. Like I want Josh Boyer fired. I think his scheme is not sustainable, and I think that expecting elite level secondary play at all times is not very realistic. But that's what this defense was based on. Both Xavier Howard and Byron Jones playing up to Pro Bowl levels, and Howard has been injured and is getting older, and he's not doing Pro Bowl level this year. And Jones never touched the field, and I'm very sad that that's the case. He never even got on the football field, and I'm really upset about that too because I was expecting him to show up at some point. And that's just on defense. On offense, I mean, my God, man, I'll give credit to Teron Armstead for all the crap that we've given him about his durability. He's come in and he's played at a high level, even though his chest is hurt, his toe is hurt, his knee is hurt, his ankle is hurt. Every part of his body is injured right now, and he's still going out there and playing like Pro Bowl left tackle Teron Armstead. I gotta give him credit for that. Like, if they keep him out of one game, I can't even blame him because it's like, this dude is unbelievable. And yet he somehow managed to miss less games than some other projected starters that was supposed to be on this offensive line. What happened to Austin Jackson? Gone. What happened to Greg Little? Out. He's injured, and then he sucks. We had to call in Brandon Shell off the face of God knows where, and he did okay at right.
Been decent for off the street.
He did okay for off the street, yeah. And then we get this guy Kendall Lamb who comes in for Teron Armstead for like one game. He was only supposed to, he came in for one game, and even he couldn't even stay in for that one. And so Greg Little has to come in and save the day again somehow. And by the way, Greg Little was not nearly as good as Kendall Lamb. Simon Clancy, 3 yards per carry, was in the OnlyFans talking up Kendall Lamb for doing a fantastic job at left tackle. So honestly, I wouldn't mind him being the swing tackle if he's doing that great next year. But again, how many injuries? And here's the big one. I'm going to say this because this is the big one. The quarterback position. Like, never mind Tua. Forget Tua. Like, Tua got injured. Okay, I get it. The Dolphins have not even been able to have a backup for the entire game all year. Like, Tua went down. You get Teddy Bridgewater, and he gets hurt, and Skylar has to come in cold, and they throw out that one viral clip of McDaniel literally ripping plays out of Skylar Thompson's wristband because he doesn't know the plays, so that he has to shrink it down to stuff he does know on the fly. So that happened. Then Skylar Thompson comes in at the Minnesota Vikings game. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Alfredo Arteaga, who, by the way, he mentioned in OnlyFins that he went over that film in Minnesota and he even wasn't impressed with Skylar Thompson. But I digress. Skylar doesn't even finish that game, and Teddy has to come in cold for him. Tua comes back. Everything goes great. Tua goes down. And now here comes Teddy again, and Teddy gets hurt again in the middle of the game. And so part of me, now we've signed Mike Glennon, of all things, as concerned citizen. Yeah, that's a very fitting name. Mike Glennon, they just signed as a backup. Why do I have this sinking feeling in my gut that Skylar Thompson's going to make it through like the first quarter and a half, and then Mike Glennon's going to have to come in off the street, having not played football in God knows how long, and try to save Miami's playoff hopes? Why do I have that awful gut feeling in my stomach?
I hope not. That's all I could say. I don't know. I mean, it's been bad luck in terms of the injuries, but you know, I might have even said this on the show before. When I was learning to golf, you learn when you're out golfing and you're actually trying for a round, you have to play with what you have. And I think Mike McDaniel's done a good job with the scheme. I think he put together an offensive game plans that suited well to Tua's strengths, Tyreek Hill's strengths, Jalen Wallace's strengths, but he has not made good decisions on playing with what he has. And I mean, obviously you guys weren't here. I was watching the game with my son when it was 3rd and 15. Mike McDaniel lost the game in New England. You can't let that slide. And I turned to him and I said, whatever you do here, don't turn the ball over. Just do a safe play and punt, because we're up 4. We're not playing Patrick Mahomes. We're not playing Josh Allen. We're playing a struggling New England offense that doesn't have a lot of speed or weapons. And Mac Jones was not playing that well. And we proceed to push the ball down the field on a 3rd and 15 with terrible tackles, with a backup quarterback that hasn't played that much. And we pick 6 it. That's where he got hurt. That lost the game. That's Mike McDaniel. That's not understanding what you can and can't do. And to me, that's shades of Adam Gase. You know, when we lost Brandon Albert, whoever it was in that Cincinnati game years ago, when he got Ryan Tannehill hurt and we were up, and he just continued to run 3 wide.
Sam Young.
No, that's who came in. Sam Young came in.
Oh, came in first. Yeah. Okay.
But he left Sam Young like out on an island against like an all-pro DN, and Ryan Tannehill got murdered. And it's at some point you got to realize you're not smarter. Sometimes your scheme's not better. You have to understand what you can and can't do. Mike McDaniel lost the Buffalo game. We had you can blame Josh Boyer all you want. We took the ball away. We had Buffalo. We were up 8 on Buffalo on the Buffalo 40, and we had a running game that was going right through them. We were running all over Buffalo, and we proceed to start throwing these low percent passes that don't make sense. It's been fun to watch at times, but Mike McDaniel calls plays like he's playing John Madden football sometimes, and it's cost us games. And sometimes you got to understand and have a read for the room. We just lost the game to the New England Patriots when we were by far a superior team. That was a bad New England team we lost to, and it was just because Bill Belichick was smart enough not to put his team in harm's way, and we were dumb enough to put our team in harm's way. And so I think a lot of people are enamored with Mike McDaniel right now, but what I see is a team that's undisciplined. We continue to see illegal shifts from guys that don't understand how to line up in the slot appropriately. We're at the end of the season. We're seeing, like, on the defensive side, lack of discipline, which is I mean, how do you not cover a receiver? The New England receiver is begging for the football because there's nobody out there on him. And
I knew that's where I was going too.
New England gives us a gift and calls a timeout, and they come back on the field and we still don't cover the guy. Duke Riley has to try to run out and cover a receiver, and that's game right there. And so I see a lot of undisciplined things going on right now. And at the beginning of the season, I was worried that Mike McDaniel's so worried about being buddy with his players. I think he just doesn't have the ability to be disciplined. We were on the show, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I was strongly saying we need to get rid of Jason Sanders. He's a liability. He's been making mistake after mistake, and you can't get into these crucial games to have playoffs. And it just bit us last week. We missed that field goal, and that's a huge difference in the game. And Mike McDaniel had the ability 4 or 5 weeks ago to bring in a different kicker that would have been better. Or he had the ability to not even kick that kick, realizing Jason Sanders is not reliable at 50-yard field goals anymore. He's not. And again, I think that's Mike McDaniel being so like friends, like he's so close to his players, which is good and bad at the same time. But I'm very concerned that this team's going to go into next year and we're going to end up, probably 2-5 or something like that. Then Mike McDaniel's going to get fired. And you're going to start to realize this guy is in over his head right now at making decisions and coaching. He's time and time again not able to get plays in on time. We're pushing delay of game and having to take crucial timeouts. He's time and time again making the bad calls on challenges. What is your head coach supposed to be doing? He's supposed to be making the crucial calls at the right time and managing the game and putting you in positions to win. And he's making a lot of bad decisions right now throughout the course of the game from the head coach standpoint. I don't want to take away his scheme. I think his offensive scheme has been good. I think he put in some good designed plays, and I think he's put together some good game plans to start games. I think he's really struggled at managing throughout the game. He's made a lot of mistakes, which I guess you can attribute that to being him a young and inexperienced coach, but I don't think you can let that slide when you're criticizing Josh Boyer. I think Mike McDaniel's made way more mistakes than Josh Boyer's made. So there you go.
All right, Ron.
Let's start with the defense. The defensive scheme is not good, and I'll tell you why it's not good. People forget how many good quarterbacks crushed us when we had a full strength and Pro Bowl caliber X Byron Jones, Nick Needham, Ogba, and all those guys, and we would still get crushed by good quarterbacks. That scheme's just not good. Now we try and change the scheme, and we don't have the right guy to do it. We just don't. So Boyer needs to go. McDaniel's definitely made some mistakes this season, but he's done a lot more good than he's done bad, in my opinion, and more than deserves. And not only more than deserves, he ain't getting fired. Even if he loses next week, he ain't getting fired. Harbaugh's not coming to Miami, period, even if we had a coaching vacancy. Harbaugh's not coming to Miami. So anybody thinks that, no, I don't see it. I don't think Peyton's coming to Miami, and I think you still have to trade picks for Peyton because I believe he was under contract with New Orleans for 2 years. So whoever gets him, I think still has to give compensation to New Orleans. And I don't know what kind of compensation we have to give, honestly. So I think McDaniel deserves another season. I think he deserves to pick his own. Not saying Boyer was forced on him, but I think he deserves to start over on the defensive side with a brand new coaching staff to figure things out on his coaching staff. Usually you're relying on, up at the box for those red flag challenges, right? For the challenges. So maybe that definitely needs to get figured out.
Point of order. That was a good challenge that he made. It just didn't win it.
Yeah. The play calling thing is a problem. That's what he came in as an offensive guy. He needs to get the play in faster. We're snapping the ball. We're either having to call timeout or snapping the ball with 2 or 3 seconds every single time. Like every single time. Like we're barely making it. I don't know what the deal is with that. That's definitely got to figure out. McDaniel definitely has things to figure out. But I know he's not going anywhere. He's not going to be fired. He's not going to be replaced. And I think he deserves another year to get better because he is a rookie head coach. And I think he will get better, honestly. And I have zero thought about he's too buddy-buddy with his players, and that's why he can't make decisions, and that's why he didn't get rid of Sanders because he's buddy-buddy. I just completely disagree with that. I don't think financially it made any sense for Miami to move on from Sanders. I don't think they really could financially. And he's not the one who signed him to that big, giant contract. So
Do you think Jason Sanders has cost us games this year?
Absolutely.
Why do you think there was no change made then?
Well, if you noticed, he hadn't missed a field goal since before the bye week. He had actually been perfect. But some of that was McDaniel managing around him.
Who would you put the big kick return in that Green Bay on? You think Jason Sanders had no blame in that?
Say that one more time.
The big kickoff return to open the Green Bay game. That was a bad kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, he was a bad kickoff. But
I put that on Danny Crossman.
We've also had terrible kickoff coverage.
Isn't Jason Sanders supposed to put the ball through the end zone? Isn't that why he's here?
He couldn't in the Packers game. He had an issue with his leg, and that's why he couldn't reach the end zone in the Packers game. That's why the following week, in worse conditions, he was kicking it out of the end zone in Gillette. But in the Packers game, for whatever reason, maybe he had dead leg or something, but he couldn't reach the end zone. He also mishit that ball that everybody thought it was an onside kick. It wasn't an onside kick. It was not a squib kick either. He missed it. He mishit it.
Yeah, it was not the coach came out and said, no, that wasn't a squib kick. That was just Sanders missing the ball.
No, and you can blame the special teams coach some. They've had special teams problems for sure. But my point is, look, I'm an internet hack, and I was saying 5 or 6 weeks ago they've got to get a replacement for Jason Sanders. He's going to cost us a playoff game or a playoff spot. And it's exactly what he did last week. Exactly what he did.
I mean, I guess they could have gotten a second kicker, but they would have had to keep two.
He hasn't been able to execute an onside kick at all. Like, they're terrible. Like, the low percentage of recovering them.
Chad, come on, bro. The whole NFL is low percentage on onside kicks right now.
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't even execute a recoverable kick. He's paid $4 million, and he's missing. What is he from 50 yards this year? Terrible, right?
Zero.
I think he's only made one of like his last 14.
Did he make one? I don't think. Has he made one? I think he made one all season.
He's struggled off and on to get the ball into the end zone. He's just. I'm just pointing out he was obvious a problem and there was no change made. So I don't know who to put that on other than McDaniel. Like, when your kicker's struggling, do you replace him?
Well, the thing is that you have to. It's a cost replacement analysis is what you're doing there. If, like, let's say you have a bent rim, you don't get your car and throw it in a canal because it has a bent rim. You just try to work around the bent rim, right? And the issue is that Jason Sanders every once in a while shows up and look, the Bills game in terrible conditions, he kicked great in that game. He nailed a 48-yarder under pressure, and in pregame he was booming it, and he was kicking off well. He was fine in the Buffalo Bills game, so that bought him a little extra time. If you got rid of him in the middle of the season, you're blowing a hole in your cap space to begin with. And then you have to have a general manager go hat in hand to the owner and say, you got to write a check for $7 million because this kicker sucks now. And nobody will do that. Everybody will just, when you have an expensive kicker and he's bad, you tend to just eat it until the season's over, and then you replace him. It was just
100% agree. That's what happened. And that's why we did not missed that 3-point attempt in New England. But I
don't believe that the reason is. But I think what you were trying to allude to is that the reason is how this conversation started is because McDaniel's soft and can't have tough conversations and make tough decisions.
Yeah, I don't think he has the clout to make the change. Well, I'm putting that on McDaniel. He kept a kicker that was a problem. And
if you want to do it because if you want to put it on him for making the decision, I'm cool with that. Because you got to put it on somebody. I'm good with saying.
I need somebody who's a leader for the team right now.
We should have made a decision, but I'm not going to sit here and say he's not a leader because he didn't change the kicker. I just think that's crap. I just don't believe that. Okay. I don't believe that at all.
He's also been tougher on the kicker than anybody else on the team.
Like you watch him on the sideline, like he's tough on coaches. He's
I see a guy like talking to Aaron Rodgers and not even paying attention to what he's supposed to be doing.
No, man, you're way off, man. Yeah. You're way off. You got to really pay attention to what he's doing on the sideline.
I see him cracking jokes about Mike Glennon in press conferences when he's on a 5-game losing streak.
I mean, but I'm going to interject now, Chad, because this is the thing I'm having with it. I made this tweet because everybody was saying they were getting sick and tired of Mike McDaniel's hyperbole and his sense of humor or whatever, because now is not the time for a sense of humor. But I just keep thinking to myself, what exactly do they want him to say? Because it basically sounds like to me, a lot of people are wanting him to say, because they're saying, oh, shut up already. You don't know what you're but what do you want him to say? I suck and I deserve to be fired. Like, no coach worth their salt is ever going to do that. And so
I would take the route of not saying much at all. I would Bill Belichick it. Like
Okay,
there is nothing.
But
good to
that's
say.
not his personality. Like you're
Well, I
basically telling him to
understand.
go
I
against his
understand.
whole grain. Like this is the same personality that we thought was very refreshing when he showed up, and we loved it. And now that they're losing, we suddenly hate it. We can't ask him to be a different person based on the circumstances. So what when he starts winning again, he's allowed to make jokes again?
I think the players don't have to worry too much with him. Like I don't think they're that worried about their jobs. I don't think they're that worried about recourse. So I don't think if they don't make the playoffs, they don't make the playoffs, whatever. And so I think by midseason next year, it's going to start to turn into a circus. I think you're going down the path of there's no discipline there. I think the players have way more power than the head coach right now. I don't think he's able to take control of the team right now.
But Chad, that's taking away agency from the players in a way, because you're basically saying the players are just going out there phoning it in and saying we don't care if we win or lose. Like no NFL player believes that. No one.
No, players don't believe that. I don't believe he's willing to step up and make the tough choices. What I'm saying. You know, if somebody is not getting it done, you got like who made the choice to start Liam Eichenberg over Jones last week?
But Robert Jones wasn't doing good.
Yeah, Robert Jones.
Eichenberg was like the worst rated offensive lineman in the league.
But if you watched him play as before he got injured, he was getting better and better and better every single game. He was improving every single game. Yeah, and that's just not coming from McDaniel. That's coming from the offensive line. There's like 5 coaches that coached offensive line on that coaching staff. They all were talking up how improved Eichenberg had been before he got hurt. So I think you had just kind of missed that before he got injured. That
I'm pointing out like everybody's throwing Boyer under the bus right now, who has way more injuries, which you've pointed out. His secondary is completely depleted. He put them in position to win the Buffalo game. They were up in the New England game, and we throw a pick 6.
He allowed 30-something points. So I guess he put him in
by
making Miami score 33 points.
We're up 4 points in the third quarter in that game against the
offense. Put them in position by making Miami score 34, 35 points to win. That's not putting your team in position.
In the New England game, there was a pick 6.
In the Buffalo game.
In the Buffalo game, we had the game won. We just had to run the ball. We had the ball. We were up 8. The defense took the ball away from Josh Allen, it's a very high-powered offense. We've got in the position when all we've got to do is run the ball, and we're throwing.
Yeah, but we were up 5 when the ball got taken away, and then we went up 8.
Right. Okay. And we had the ball on their 40 with the fourth quarter up 8, right? On the Buffalo 40.
We had penalties. We also ran the ball twice.
Why are we having penalties?
Because people make mistakes,
right? Right. And so
but if we're going to take the Buffalo game on its own, the offense produced 450 yards of offense and 29 points.
Right.
In 20-degree weather against the best team in the AFC.
How was our
I'm not blaming the head coach.
Game? How was our running game going in that?
Great.
Why would
who
you
designed
not run
that
the
running
ball?
game? Who called it?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you use it? Why would you switch to passing? Look up how many times we threw like with Tua on like a 3rd and 1 with an aggressive running game, and we're throwing the ball on 3rd and 1, and not. But I mean I understand you guys like him. I understand. I'm not taking anything away from his scheme. He has made bad choices. You've got to recognize that. Pushing the ball down the field with Teddy Bridgewater with backup tackles on 3rd and 15 is plain foolish.
I agree that he's made bad decisions. I've been critical of him before you came on today and were critical. I have been critical of him for some of the things he's done. I just think that
I don't disagree with your points. He's young and he's made a lot of mistakes. He's definitely struggling with managing games right now. He's making bad choices on challenges, and he's doing terrible with clock management, and they've made some really questionable calls in critical situations in games that come from the head coach. Now,
the issue
you want to give him a chance to improve, that's fine. I'm just pointing out, everybody thinks, this is Josh Boyer. You get rid of Josh Boyer, you're going to fix it. You're looking at a defense that's very depleted. You can bring in any defensive coordinator you want. We're playing a lot of backup poor defensive backs. Like Keaton Crossing has no business starting at D-back in the NFL.
I agree.
No business.
Honestly, I'd prefer Justin Bethel at this point. He did pretty good.
But I mean, that's what we got.
Yeah, but Keaton Crossing gave up 2 catches for 14 yards.
He made the most critical pass interference in the game.
Okay, and you know why? And you know why he gave up a 40-yard penalty on pass interference?
because he is not a starting caliber D-back that knows.
No, because Josh Boyer
under no
brought the
circumstance would
because
you
Josh
do that.
Boyer brought down Holland as a robber and induced a shot play.
It does
on
not
Keon
matter.
Crossen.
It does not matter. You are in a situation. You have
That
to
is
understand
piss
the game.
poor. That is piss poor management of your resources on defense when your best players are on your defensive line and your linebackers and your safeties, and you're just going to bring guys into the lower box because you don't think Mac Jones can just throw it as far as he can and induce.
If
a
you're
pass
a
interference penalty?
professional football player, you need to understand the gravity of slamming into a receiver and committing pass interference at that stage of the game.
When you're one-on-one, that is one of the outcomes you're going to get when you're one-on-one. And the only person that put Keon Crossen one-on-one with anybody was Josh Boyer. Nobody.
I don't disagree. It's a guy that should not be playing on the field. I mean, he is not. He's a special teams player out there playing D-back. I don't know why they can't get Noah Igbiagani more reps in his place.
No, please, no. No. Don't do
what,
that to me, Chad.
What
He's
is
not good
Keon
either.
Crossen? Like, you tell me what Keon Crossen's done out there. He's committed multiple penalties this year. He's done poor tackling. We can jump back to games. He's missed tackles. He's struggled. And maybe he is better than practice than Noah Igbiagani. I don't know. And I just know we haven't had the injuries in the backfield. And so should Josh Boyer be playing more conservative? 100% agree. So should Mike McDaniel, who ultimately has to say, I don't want you to blitz on this play. I want you to play back. I don't want you to bring Javon Holland down and leave Keon Crossen one-on-one. Mike McDaniel's the head coach, not Josh Boyer. So he needs to take control and say, this is the game situation we're in.
Do you remember the brief clip of McDaniel staring Boyer in the face and telling him to fix this crap or what? Well, I'm paraphrasing.
So is he not able to tell him what to do? Like, I mean, so does Josh Boyer say, "Well, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm going to run this defense anyway," in the game situation? I don't disagree with Alf. I have no idea why you're sending Keon Crossen one-on-one down the field like that. The Patriots had no receivers in that game. They're terrible. And that's what they're looking for. I think they're looking for that more than even trying to complete the pass. They're hoping for the PI. They're hoping for it. And of course you're going to throw it up against somebody like Keon Crossen because he's one of the most likely players to commit it on the team. And so he shouldn't be one-on-one. I agree with that. I'm just pointing out, I don't know, do you need a defensive coordinator that's more prudent? That Mike McDaniel can't step up and do some basic and just say, do not be aggressive on this. I want you to play back. He has that power.
I mean, at that point though, Chad, what's the point of having a defensive coordinator if you're going to just do it yourself anyway?
I would say you need to, that's where I'm going, is you need a head coach that knows what he's doing. And that's why somebody like Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh.
You have to start.
Yeah, we're back to those names again. Well,
all right, so
Harbaugh's never coming here, so maybe we're
here's
talking.
the bet.
Are you so sure?
Harbaugh's never coming.
Here's my read right now. My read is Stephen Ross is embarrassed and he's fed up. He's been mocked. He's been involved in the Deshaun Watson deal. They had all the tanking allegations. He's been fined for talking to Sean Payton and Tom Brady, and the team has completely collapsed. He's paid a ton of money to Tyreek Hill and Teron Armstead and all these guys. And I don't think anybody's going to disagree. What Brian Flores started with here for a team was horrible. And Mike McDaniel started with a stacked team. I know they've had injuries, but this is the most talented roster we've had in a decade. The most talented roster in a decade. And we've lost games with a more talented team. Now, if you don't want to, you want to pin that and say that's Josh Boyer's fault and that's not Mike McDaniel's fault, I don't know. I'm telling you, Jim Harbaugh is at Michigan. He's talking to Ross. And if you think Armando's making stuff up right now, the reading the room. I don't think he's making stuff up. I think the reading the room right now is
man. How many times are we going to play this game? Like, this is like high school where the girl keeps pretending she likes you. And then maybe he's
trying to use this. That could be. I do know he went after Sean Payton before he went after Mike McDaniel.
Yeah.
I do know before this season he liked Sean Payton more.
I could see Payton possibly happening, maybe, except if the league will let it. So do you think the league is really going to come down on Ross for tampering and then end up with Payton and maybe even Brady anyway?
can they not? Like you say they're gonna
Oh
block
yeah,
it?
because I'm sure the league has no power to make sure something does or doesn't happen. Hashtag
They
Teddy
might.
Wobble.
So you're gonna say they're going
The
to
league will make
interject
sure
and
what
tell
happens,
Ross
what
and
they
Peyton
want
they
to happen.
can't be together? Like I don't know what they're gonna do, but I'm
Yeah,
just
they're not-
saying that
They're not going
the
to allow Peyton to
Dolphins
come here.
need to show up. You're playing a New York Jets team that's eliminated from the playoffs. That means guys like CJ Mosley, he doesn't want to get hurt. And it's in the Jets' best interest to not get some of their key players hurt going into next year, this late in the season. That tells me if you come out and you play lights out, like aggressive football, hitting hard, that sort of thing, the Jets don't want to do that. I don't care how interested they are in winning this game. The Jets can't afford to get a bunch of people hurt going into the offseason.
I don't know. Wrecking an AFC East rival's chances at the playoffs is pretty sweet.
They're playing some of the worst football in the NFL right now. The Jets are. They're struggling, as are we.
That's another thing. Robert Saleh might be coaching for his job. So if those players want him around, maybe they will want to win.
Well, I would hope that we'll get the same reaction from our players for Mike McDaniel, right? Like
that's under the assumption that Mike McDaniel is playing for his job, which I'm still not. Again, it's only been 1 year, Chad. That's the thing. It's only been one. How long has Robert Saleh been there now? A couple, 2-3 years now.
I think 2 years.
So
yeah,
and there were no stretches where the Jets actually looked good.
I'm not proposing that Mike McDaniel should be fired. I'm being very critical of him. I'm being very honest about the struggles he's having.
So you're not saying he should be fired, but you're saying he could and might.
I am making the point, if you can get Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh, they're superior coaches where they're at in their careers right now than Mike McDaniel. Jim Harbaugh is 44-19 in the NFL. He did Andrew Luck in Stanford. Yeah, he didn't win the national title for Michigan. He completely turned the Michigan program around. They're a national title contender, and they were an average team before he got there. He's
after he lost to Ohio State 4,000 times in a row.
How good is Ohio State? I mean, what has he not succeed? He's had success wherever he's went. What has Mike McDaniel done?
I'm fine.
I would argue that Mike McDaniel has done a ton this year, and I'll explain. First of all, I think he's been better than the 8 wins that they've had. Because he called a great game in San Francisco. There were wide open people that Tua just missed in that game. Now, he called a poor game against the Chargers, but then he followed that up with a really well-called game against Buffalo. In the end, he's going to have, on pace right now, he has 1 game left, for an offense that's going to throw for about 4,800 yards. It's going to have two running backs combined for 2,000 yards from scrimmage. Rushing and receiving. 2 receivers that are going to break the all-time Dolphin record held by Duper and Clayton.
They already did. They already
2,600 yards. Yeah, but they're going to smash it. They're going to smash it by about 300 yards. But Waddle, I believe, needs 120, so they could both have 2 guys over 1,300. So his offense is going to be ranked in the top 6 if they score no points. If they get shut out, it's going to be ranked in the top 6 in scoring, no matter what. If you like yards, they could get 400 yards and they'll be in the top 5. So, I think his metrics are going to be pretty good. He got the players that he got them to produce. He found Brandon Shell out of nowhere, got him to produce. Now, where have been the failures? Maybe in team management. But if you look at the team rankings, there's one guy that has a bunch of single digits in all the rankings. And there's another guy who's in the 26s and 28s and 29s. And then you have the special teams coach that has the worst special teams in football. So, one guy can make an argument. The rest of them can't. Like Josh Gordon cannot make an argument. He has a very talented squad, even with all the injuries. With all the injuries, he still has a lot of talented players. That front 4, those 4 defensive linemen, especially those 2 defensive tackles, he's loaded right there. He's had health at the linebacker position, which they haven't had in previous years. The safeties, Javon Holland's been there all year. Eric Rowe has played well at times. X has been injured all year. He needed to cover for those guys, and he decided, I'm going to put even more pressure on them. Mm-hmm. And it's come back to bite him. And no time did it bite him the most than against Buffalo when the numbers were as clear as they could be. Every time he blitzed Josh Allen made him pay. When he didn't blitz Josh Allen, good things happened. And that's why in the first game, he only blitzed Josh Allen 13 times. And they actually had success. And everybody tells me, oh, but he threw for 400 yards on 63 attempts. So if I told you that he threw for 200 yards on 32 attempts, would you take it? Of course you would. Well, that's what he did. And he did it twice. So the game plan was good enough against Josh Allen twice on both ends. But it hasn't been in other parts. And it's been this defense. This defense on the road has been like, you cannot have the worst defense in the NFL on the road. Like there's nothing that computes with the talent that they have, even after the injuries. You can't. It's not possible. And that's what Josh Boyer has produced.
Everything that you guys are talking about tells me what I'm hearing is Mike McDaniel's a very good offensive coordinator. He is not a good head coach. The defensive struggles, Mike McDaniel has no capability of adjusting. He just doesn't know what he's doing at all on defense. He's not a complete head coach.
You can't be a good offensive coordinator and not understand defense, though. That's the thing.
Everything he's talking about,
design plays, you can't.
Why has he not pushed Josh Boyer to change scheme set?
Well, because it's not his job to micromanage everybody. That's why we hated Adam Gase.
He's the head coach.
And that's why we hated Brian Flores and micromanage. Now we're asking McDaniel to micromanage.
For you coach, and if they can't coach, you replace them. And you're going to see
all I'm telling you guys is there's been decisions made that we just took the most talented roster in a decade and we've made no progress in the win-loss column. And now we're fighting for our playoff lives. I think Mike McDaniel needs to have his team show up and he needs to have a well-coached, well-executed game against the Jets, or you have to consider a coach that knows what he's doing, that has a good tenure. And whether you guys don't like Jim Harbaugh or don't like Sean Payton, they've taken teams to Super Bowls. They've had success for a long time. They're a much safer option for success.
I love Harbaugh. I've been saying this forever. Harbaugh's not coming to play for Ross. He's teased Ross twice.
Maybe he's not. I don't know.
He's not.
I just know that. I
don't think the NFL is going to allow Peyton to come here because they're not going to let Ross have that win.
I get the sense that Ross and Harbaugh are too good of friends, really, to actually work together. He's never coming here.
That could be.
He's never coming.
I can't say that I would say he is. I was just pointing out if those two guys are possibilities, and you're Stephen Ross, and you've just invested all this money into a roster that needs to win right now, you go get one of the best coaches out there, and those are both very good coaches. Harbaugh.
Peyton's not going to come here because he has unless he brings Brady or Rodgers.
Now,
because he has no quarterback.
I know this is a little change. I do think Brady's coming here. I think there's a very good chance Tom Brady's
There's a possibility. Absolutely, there's a possibility.
I don't think Aaron Rodgers or anybody else does, but just because Brady, I think there's a lot of intangibles, like he wants to be in Florida. This offense is set up for him to have success now.
If he wants to come to Miami and be with his kids, he needs to retire, because that's the real thing with Tom Brady. Okay, if he wants so badly to be with his family, leave. That's what you should have done in the first place. Maybe you would have gotten divorced.
I'm just saying it's obviously Ross already chased him once. So clearly Stephen Ross likes Tom Brady. And that's the guy that was mostly
Bruce Beal. And Bruce Beal got his shares taken away because of it.
Well, maybe
if you look at the report, the report says that it was Bruce Beal who tampered with Brady.
It was more Bruce Beal than it was Ross. That's why he took the bigger punishment too.
I don't know what really happened. I'm just saying we chased him. So maybe it wasn't Ross. You guys are saying he did.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is funny. Good Lord, no Brady. Centrum Silver is not a good sponsor.
I'm not saying here's what I would do. I'm saying I'm reading the room right now, and I think Ross is frustrated. That's my read in the room right now, and he wants to win. He's tired of losing. He's tired of being made to look like a fool, and he needs to win right now. And I think if you get a safer option like Sean Payton or Jim Harbaugh, you go after it. With that being said, if you don't get those guys, if you can't get Sean Payton or you can't get Jim Harbaugh, then Mike McDaniel is your best choice. I'm not down on Mike McDaniel. I'm just saying Jim Harbaugh would have this team in the playoffs right now. Sean Payton would have this team in the playoffs right now. Mike McDaniel didn't.
I don't know that. I don't know.
I'm very.
How long did Sean Payton have Drew Brees, the best quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks, and a Hall of Famer, as his guy? Like they literally got there together.
They didn't have him last year, and they were a pretty competitive team.
And the moment that Drew Brees wasn't there anymore, he made a complete mess of the team, utter mess of the cap, and then took off.
And
Which
then
you-
They
Belichick
did
and
make a
Brady-
mess of the cap.
Belichick
I agree.
in New England is doing the exact same thing right now without Brady. Like without that Hall of Fame quarterback, the teams don't look nearly as formidable as they used to. And by the way, I'm going to bring this up because I feel like this is worth mentioning. And I've said this so many times on different shows everywhere that I've ever been on a show, and I've had to talk about this. Drew Brees' career did not take off until like 6 years into his career when he got to New Orleans and got paired with Sean Payton.
100%.
And if we're going to take on Mike McDaniel, who has been able to get more out of Tua than any other coach that we've ever seen. And we're going to say, nah, you and your coach can go kick rocks. And we're going to go get Jim Harbaugh and start all over again because the whole team is going to get upended.
Both of them will be a reset.
We don't have the ability to reset. Right now, we have huge contracts with Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb.
I mean, for
there's no
quarterback.
reset.
I promise you, we already know Peyton does not like Tua.
I'll step back right now, and anybody that's saying getting rid of Tua is clueless. Like, first of all, Tua played really well, and he's on a rookie contract. Why would you get rid of Tua?
So why are we bringing up Tom Brady?
Tua, Chad.
Because Tua has not completed every year, the last 3 years, we had playoff caliber teams. The reason we didn't make the playoffs was because of Tua being hurt, right? Like last year, we probably make the playoffs if Tua doesn't break his ribs. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
This year, we probably make the playoffs if Tua doesn't get a
Yeah, we make it if he doesn't get hurt.
I'm just pointing out Tua's injury, that not Tua's performance or the reason we've been struggling. If you put Tom Brady and Tua on the same quarterback room, that's a lot better chance.
Then Tua says, "Get me out of here." That's what he says. Because Tua knows he can start.
Tua's not going to say, "Get me out of here."
Well, we're going to know for next season because
he'll say it quietly. He'll be a good little soldier boy because that's what he does. And then he's going to tell his agent, "I don't want to be here anymore." And they're going to propose a trade.
Alf, doesn't Miami have to decide on Tua's 5th year before the season starts?
Not necessarily. Had Tua completed the season and kept up the numbers that he has right now, I'm pretty sure that his agent would have started the drumbeat toward a new contract. But they have next season.
Right. Oh, but I thought
Tua would be crazy to do a
on
contract
the 5th
right now.
season though.
Like right now, how could any team in the league put a massive contract into Tua right now until he proves that he can stay healthy for an entire year?
Well, no one's going to. But what proof does it give you that Tua can be the guy if you go and bring in Tom Brady as a stopgap and basically say, Tua, you're the backup now?
It depends on the situation. I'm just saying, like, what else are you going to do? Are you saying just go Tua?
You go with Tua. Yes, you absolutely go with Tua, and you make it.
What happens then when Tua gets knocked out in the 4th or 5th game next year with a concussion?
Okay, that's assuming he does. Again, like the whole concussion thing. Listen, I'm not disagreeing that he has durability issues with Tua, and it's funny. We titled this thing Skylar Thompson, and we haven't even talked about Skylar Thompson. But I digress.
He's the starter this weekend.
Yeah, he's the starter this week. By the way, everybody talking about is Tua playing? No, he's not. It's Skylar Thompson or bust at this point. But the idea that we're gonna bring in Brady or anybody for that matter, yes, we're absolutely gonna move forward with Tua Tagovailoa because he did everything that you need a quarterback to do to show that he can do it. The only thing that his real mistake, in my opinion, as far as Tua is concerned, his real mistake was that he got a little too aggressive and stopped taking the easy stuff, which is what he did against the Detroit Lions. And I think many people will agree. I think Alf, you and the 3 yards per carry crew actually debated this. I think what was his best game. I still think it was Baltimore just because he had to do all of what he did in one quarter. But in Detroit, he was flawless. And it's not because he always attacked the middle of the field. Yes, he did. But he was also willing to take what the Detroit Lions gave him. He was able to take a little dump off here, toss a little over here to another running back over here. He did basically everything that I wanted him to do later on in the season. He attacked. He put the ball everywhere, not just in one spot the entire time.
Yeah, his best overall game was against Detroit, but the best half of football he's played as a pro was against the Packers. The first half against the Packers.
Well, I mean, I would argue
that was the best half.
The best quarter of his career was Baltimore.
Okay,
the best quarter of his career was against Baltimore.
I'll give you that.
His first half against the Packers. You can't find efficiency numbers like that for like the last 3 years. The only guy who came close was Patrick Mahomes like 3 years ago against the Ravens. Oh no, against the Rams, where he was completing, something like 14 yards per attempt in the first half. But Tua that was an insane first half against the Packers. The guy had 300 yards on 13 completions.
There's no. If anybody's out there debating that Tua is not the guy when he's healthy, they're not watching the football. Tua's been sensational.
Right, but that's the problem is that
I'm making a point. Like right now, you're making a decision. Now this is jumping into next year, but you're going to go in there. Tua had a severe, not a minor, a severe concussion against the Bengals. Like you obviously saw on the field, he was having a seizure, right? That's a severe bruise to his brain. He just whacked his head in the Green Bay game and had a second concussion because once you've had a major concussion, you're way more susceptible to have more concussions in the future. The point I'm making is not it makes no sense to me to get rid of Tua. He's on an affordable contract and he plays amazing when he's healthy. I'm saying, are you going to go in after the last 2 years in a row we've missed the playoffs because Tua is not available? What's your plan B right now? Do you feel comfortable?
Not just, but here's the thing, and I'm going to bring this up because it actually leads us into the actual discussion, which I wish we had gotten into earlier. Because I'm trying to keep it under an hour, but that's not going to happen. Now I'm just aiming for under an hour and a half. But the problem was not that we just didn't have Tua, because we could have won that game against the Jets when Teddy Bridgewater had a full week of practice. We could have, but he didn't get to play. Because he wobbled.
Fine. So
and then Skylar comes in, and Alf, I know you. And I'm going to ask you about Skylar's film against the Vikings in a minute, but at the very least on TV, when I was getting ready to get on my flight to Texas, he kind of looked pretty good. So I think we could have had a shot at that game. And then Teddy has to come in cold because Skylar goes down, and then again it happens. Teddy plays decent against New England, enough to win us the game, and then he makes one mistake, he gets slammed, and then here comes Skylar to come in cold again. So we're doing the same thing. It's not just that Tua's been unavailable, it's that our backups have been unavailable. At some point, it's like, God, there's no getting around it.
I guess my question is, if you're putting on your GM hat, your plan next year would be to go with Tua and Skylar Thompson?
Not Skylar, no.
You can't go with Skylar.
Who's your plan then? What's your plan?
You have to have an expensive, and you have to get the right
an expensive and durable quarterback.
Yeah,
who would be better than Tom Brady?
Brady's not a backup.
Tom Brady, Chad. Come on. Tom Brady's not
going anywhere to be a backup.
Give me a realistic name of a better quarterback room than Brady and Tua.
But you're asking about, but Brady's the starter, right?
I don't know. Is he? I don't know what Tom Brady's at right now in his life.
So by the way,
Tom Brady's the starter and Tua's the backup. Isn't that a really good quarterback?
Tua's not going to be the backup again.
I just looked it up. By the start of this coming league year, that means March, Miami has to decide whether to pick up Tua's fifth-year option or not.
They're picking up his fifth-year option for sure. That's
coming up just this March.
That's not even a debate.
If you bring Brady, he's the starter, so that means you're pretty much playing. You're doing the Flores thing to Tua, but on the season level instead of the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
level.
It's like you're
benching Tua for a season.
You're benching Tua for It was
bad
enough.
Make him more healthy.
We're benching Tua for Fitzpatrick. Now we're benching him for Tom Brady.
Yeah, that's it.
I guess I just don't see the quarterback you're going to get that's going to ensure you're going to be able to win if Tua gets hurt. I don't.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
You can't get Jimmy Garoppolo. His contract's going to be enormous. You can't get.
They're going to cut him.
And Tom Brady's is not going to be enormous.
No, I think Tom Brady will play for cheap to live in Florida and
he's already living in Florida.
Yeah, I think he wants to be here. I actually think Stephen Ross will give him minority ownership. I actually think he'll do that. I just think he's the most realistic. You can't go get
Tom
Carr.
Brady
You can't go get Garoppolo.
Most egotistical men on the face of the planet. He is
but
not going to come and play backup.
Redshirting Tua the year before you might have to extend him is not. I don't think the smartest thing you can do.
Yeah,
because then you're going to be extending him blind. The best thing you could do is have him go out there on an audition. And that way, if he plays 13 games and he misses 4 games again, then you could say, okay, here's your $240 million. But guess what? Now you have incentives where you have to play games to earn this money.
I tell you right now, if we go into next year, Tua misses 4 or 5 games, we miss the playoffs again, the house is getting cleaned. They won't go again. There won't be another year of let's hope Tua doesn't get hurt. At some point, you got to move in a direction. You either have to understand Tua's an injury risk, and this isn't because of his history, like his hip and his leg. I'm telling you flat out, he's a much higher concussion risk now. There's no getting around that.
Do we know for sure that the Tua doesn't retire?
He might. I mean,
100%
you
certain
have to understand he had a severe concussion in that Bengals game, a bad one.
And then
He
he
is at a
proceeded to
much
have
higher
the
risk.
best year of his career.
He has. I'm saying he plays well. He got a concussion in that Green Bay game off more of a routine tackle. I was just to bounce the head off the turf.
I mean, that's not
you go
a good
into
thing, though, Chad. That hurts. Like, I think he needs to get his helmet fixed. I think he needs to learn how to fall better. But, my God, it's not like he just,
But
like...
as far as severe concussions, I don't buy that because Patrick Mahomes was knocked silly in a playoff game. He played the following week.
There's no even debating it.
The Bengals one was
had
severe.
a seizure. His concussion was so severe, he had a seizure on the field. That's
The
why
Bengals one was bad.
But that's not the first time that's happened. Josh Allen was knocked out completely cold and carted off the field. Cold.
Mhm.
He played the following week.
Right.
It's just that it's just that this one was much more visible, and Tua has a higher Q rating. I guess people know him more. But
I'm pointing out. I'm not saying don't go with Tua. I love Tua. I think he plays exceptional. I'm just saying, at some point, you look at entire seasons right now. I just don't see Miami being able to go into next season without a really strong second quarterback.
That's fine. I don't mind that. I mean,
it's not going to be Brady because Brady wants to start.
But that's the thing. That's the thing.
But that's why you're going to have to look. They thought that they found one in Teddy Bridgewater, but what they did is that they found a guy that's essentially done. Okay, and who had his own issues, by the way. He had his own injury issues, and if you remember, he ended the season last year being carted off the field with a concussion as well.
Right. So is this a Greer issue? Because I mean, Jacoby Brissett obviously was terrible.
Brissett was trash.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing: when you're picking quarterbacks, you're going to sit there with your coach, and you're going to start picking a quarterback. Last year they got Jacoby Brissett, and Jacoby Brissett was absolutely awful.
Right.
Now, can you explain to me why Jacoby Brissett was actually really, really good this year for the Browns?
I would say because they have a strong running game. That would be my response, but I don't know.
They just have better offensive coordinators. They don't have.
And Nick Chubb does. I'm sure Nick Chubb has a lot to do with it. I mean, having that kind of
we do too. I feel
they're
like
gonna have to sit down and they're gonna have to pick a backup quarterback. I think if I had to handicap it, I would watch Nick Mullen. Okay, first of all, I'll watch Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay, if the quarterback carousel goes around and he's left, without a seat.
I mean, Brock Purdy is doing pretty darn good, all things considered.
Okay, then you go after Jimmy Garoppolo. If Jimmy Garoppolo, finds another team, then I would look at what's going on with Nick Mullen in Detroit. If you watch him, he came into that game. He looks competent. He can make the throws. He knows how to run an offense. Every time I saw him come in for San Francisco, he had command of that offense. He's a perfect fit for the system. He's younger. And
why isn't he the backup quarterback for San Francisco right now then?
Because they traded him for a 4th round pick. That's a good and they had 1,000 quarterbacks. They drafted Trey Lance and they had Jimmy
Lance
Garoppolo.
went down. That's the only reason Garoppolo's playing.
They had Trey Lance and they had Jimmy Garoppolo, and then you had Nick Mullen, and they're like, you know what? We have a 3rd quarterback who would be a backup anywhere else.
I don't know.
And Detroit said, give me Nick Mullen for a 4th round pick.
And by the way,
how good he was.
I just looked up Garoppolo's contract. By the way, I think this is on Spot Track.
You're not getting Garoppolo. I mean,
why not?
Because he's going to start.
What about Baker Mayfield?
Blah.
What about Sam Darnold?
Blah.
I guess
what about Daniel Jones?
My question is, all these names you're throwing out, how good do you guys feel about them being our starter for 4 or 5 games next year? Do you think they'll hurt our playoff chances or hold it together?
And that they're all people that might consider coming in and taking a shot that, well, Tua does get hurt a lot. I will get a chance to play. They have a really high-powered offense, so I could look really good. All those quarterbacks might consider, okay, I'll ride the bench behind Tua for the first few games till he gets hurt and then go out and sling the ball to Waddle and Hill all day long. But you know who's not going to be willing to do that? Tom Brady. He's going to want to start, which means you're benching Tua and you're going in a different direction and deciding to move on from Tua. So why would you even bother picking up?
Do you know who makes playoffs? Tom Brady. I personally, I'm tired of not making the playoffs and not winning.
Chad. I'm not sitting here telling you it's a bad idea. What I'm telling you is you're living in a dream world if you want to have your cake and eat it too. To think that you're going to have Brady and Tua, and that's all going to be copacetic. And then Brady's going to take us to the playoffs or the Super Bowl and retire, and then Tua's going to be the starter again. Like all that's
I'm like
dream world.
I'm like Tua's got to deal with it because I want to win a playoff game.
If you're going to pick up Brady, you might as well not even bother to pick up Tua's fifth-year option, in my opinion.
At that point, you bring in Brady, cut Tua, and you trade Tua, get Brady, and then you bring Garoppolo back to be his backup again.
Because that's a lot of money you then have to guarantee him. And then extend him. Or extend
paying it to Teddy Bridgewater or paying it to Jimmy Garoppolo? I'd rather pay
Garoppolo. I'll take over Bridgewater any day of the week and twice on Sunday.
I'm saying you're paying Tua to be your backup. That's what you're doing. And he's going to have to deal with that because he's had an injury history. We're trying to win the playoff games here. We're trying to make the Super Bowl. We need to win right now. This isn't a rebuild. And Tua has not been available enough. He's got to understand that. And so this isn't about, this is about Tua first, Dolphins second. This is about our team trying to win a playoff game.
But it's not just about Tua. It's about the salary cap. It's about what makes sense. You can't bring in Brady and then pick up Tua's fifth-year option if you're not planning on moving. If you bring in Brady, you're not moving forward with Tua at that point.
No, Tua would play for a year. Tua would be your starter in his fifth year. Next year is Tua's fourth year.
Yes, but you have to pick up his fifth-year option. By the time the league year ends this year, you have to decide on his fifth-year option.
That's a no-brainer. You're picking it up no matter what. I'm paying Tua's fifth-year option over bringing in a backup like
I can't
Garoppolo.
process this, man. I can't process what you're saying right now because you're saying go get Tom Brady, win the Super Bowl, maybe because again, by the way, Tampa Bay has loaded with weapons right now, and Brady is struggling
not compared to what Miami has.
Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones and Leonard Fournette, who, by the way, you could argue is still a starting caliber guy. And his offensive line
down over them. I would take Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill hands down over those guys. With Tom Brady, my God, like that would be. I mean, it's not that Tua is playing bad. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we need to get rid of Tua. I'm saying I don't want to be sitting here having this conversation when we've just lost 4 straight with Nick Mullins. You're taking a flyer that he's going to be able to do.
Nick Mullins is not here to be like Nick Mullins would be the whole point of a backup is that he's not supposed to be there long term. We're playing on the assumption that Tua is guaranteed to miss at least 5 games per season, and at that point, I wouldn't even go there.
Maybe I'm gun shy. I've lost us lose playoff games with Matt Moore. I've just seen so much bad quarterback play where we're fighting for our playoff lives with a 7th round draft pick.
But look, Matt Moore was actually a competent backup quarterback because guy won 2 road games to get us into the playoffs.
He did.
When Tannehill got injured, they had not clinched. They needed to win. They needed to win 2 games.
But our season died with our backup quarterback. We got smoked by Pittsburgh, right, with Matt Moore.
Yeah, in the wild card round.
Our season right now is on. Our season right now is on Skylar Thompson's shoulders, not Tua Tagovailoa's shoulders. He's not available. And last year,
I'm arguing if you had Matt Moore, I wouldn't be worrying about this game on Sunday at all.
Then that swings back to coaching. Why don't we have a guy like Matt Moore?
Well, they had one in Teddy Bridgewater. But it blew up in their face.
All I saw Teddy Bridgewater just do is throw a really foolish pass on 3rd and 15 and blow
Chad, come on, man. The entirety of his game was bad.
On Mike McDaniel, not Teddy Bridgewater, I'll add.
What has Teddy Bridgewater done for us? Like, he hasn't done anything that's
very briefly during that game, he was actually pretty decent. And then that one mistake was the mistake that lost it. But throughout the rest of the game,
this team has been god awful when Tua doesn't play. Not even competitive without Tua. My expectations right now are for a rough Sunday without Tua in there right now. I'm hoping that Skylar Thompson. But I mean, you guys are drinking Kool-Aid if you think Skylar Thompson, who's hardly played and is a rookie.
I didn't say that.
I did. We haven't made our picks yet. I don't.
I'm just saying for next year, I don't want to just be watching our season come down to a backup quarterback for us in a must-win game or playoff game. And our history has been over and over and over. We're watching our seasons die with backup quarterbacks. And going into next year, I understand that that's hard for Tua if you bring in another really good quarterback. I'm just tired of using these second-tier quarterbacks and trying to get by. I'm tired of watching Jacoby Brissett's play. I'm tired of watching Teddy Bridgewater play. I would much rather have Tom Brady and Tua on the same team and say, I'm tired of people's feelings. I'm tired of people feeling like I should be the guy. I want a competent quarterback on the field, and I want to make the playoffs. That's what I want.
Well, we're gonna get into we've already gone an hour over this stuff now. The Jets game is coming, whether we like it or not, and Skylar Thompson, whether anybody likes it or not, is probably going to be the guy, and we'll see if he actually makes it throughout the rest of the game, because that would be a plus at this point if he actually plays the whole game.
It's Glennon time.
Yeah, no, please no. Don't give me Pencil. Don't give me Beaker. I don't need Beaker to come in here and play quarterback.
G. The other Mike G.
But with that being said, Mr. Arteaga, you did a film rundown on Skylar. Can you give us what you found?
Yeah, he's not good.
He sucks.
Okay, that's
this has been Alpha Arteaga from 3.
In that, I did a review of his Vikings game. He made some good throws. He also missed some pretty big throws, but there is no discernible arm talent whatsoever there. He has arm strength, like he can throw it, but as far as throwing off platform, to different spots of the field, into zones, ball placement, it's just not there. He's just not. Like this Sunday, he's going to be one of the worst quarterbacks starting this Sunday. Now, can he win? Yeah, he's going to need a lot of help. Now, what does he have going for him? Well, he was thrown into the fire against the New England Patriots. He didn't play terribly. He wasn't good either. But they lost by 2 points to what I believe is a superior opponent on the road. Now you're playing an inferior opponent at home, which kind of switches all completely the defense. If you look at our defense, we have the worst defense, and it's not even close, on the road against everybody. And it doesn't matter who you play, they're just bad on the road. In fact, the only game that they actually played pretty good so far this year was this past week against the Patriots, because they only allowed 16 points to that offense, on the road. But they're back at home. So you could expect reasonably good defensive play if you could get a turnover here, a turnover there, and you're going to have to kick field goals. Like, the game plan is going to have to be boring, and it's going to have to be extremely safe. And you're going to have to call design passes for Skylar Thompson. You have to run the ball excessively, even to the point where you're just running it for effect. And Jason Sanders is going to have to kick a few field goals, and you're going to have to win an ugly game. They could win because, quite frankly, the opponent is getting softer and softer by the week. That's why I thought that they would make the playoffs, is because I thought that these last 3 games, they managed to somehow lose these games in ways that I didn't think that was possible.
True.
I thought if Tua, but to be fair, if Tua plays against the Patriots, they win that game going away. And they clinch the playoffs, and they're probably resting everybody this week. Okay. But they didn't. They had the backup quarterback, so they lost. The Packers game, we saw what happened in that game was an implosion in the fourth quarter. They have this is a bad opponent. This is a bad opponent. They might even rest a couple of guys. Yeah, their defense is good. Their defense is good, but there's ways to combat a good defense. Okay, you could do a lot of what New England kind of did against us. If you could try to induce one-on-one opportunities and take shots every once in a while. You could get a big penalty that way. You could run the ball. Okay, you can play opportunistic defense. If you take it away and you get some short fields, maybe you get some cheap field goals. We know Jason Sanders is okay inside of 40 yards. We know
he'll be better at home. I believe he'll be better in Miami.
I believe so too. We know you can't take a shot with 50-yard field goals with Jason Sanders. You just can't. So you're either punting or you're going for it on 4th and 1. So I believe they can win. Now, yes. My film study tells me Skylar Thompson, like I said, he'll be one of the worst starting quarterbacks this Sunday. Like, if he's the worst, yeah, maybe he could be the worst. Put it this way: he's not going to be better than Mike White. Mike White's a better quarterback than Skylar Thompson.
I'll throw this at you, Alf. How about this? Here's a question for you, and it's probably a ridiculous question on its face, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Given a few days to prepare, would you choose Mike Glennon over Skylar Thompson?
No, because it's just a few days, and Skylar Thompson has been here all.
I mean, they threw the Titans threw Josh Dobbs into the fire, and he's a rookie, like just out of nowhere.
Yeah, but the Titans didn't care about the game because the Titans game, their entire season is on Saturday, and they knew that 2 weeks ago. They knew that there was nothing they could do against the Cowboys or anybody else. That's why they rested so many people against the Cowboys.
Yeah, they got to beat the Jacksonville.
Yeah, they got to beat Jacksonville or nothing. Like they knew 2 weeks ago that nothing they did mattered. The only thing they could have done against Dallas, and it actually helped us, is that they could have opened up like the back door for the playoffs for them, and then that would have maybe put a kink in what we tried to do this weekend. Like maybe we would have needed more help this weekend. As it turns out, no, they tanked the game and they actually helped us out a little bit as far as the scenarios to get into the playoffs. So, he just got here like 2-3 days ago. If he was here all year, he would be the better option. But he's not.
I can give you some things that what I would suggest. I hope they do in the game, if you guys are interested.
Go ahead.
With Skylar Thompson, I would encourage some plays where he runs a lot. Just send him. I know you don't want to get him hurt, but he is fairly mobile. He can run, because him making plays with his feet are still plays that he can make, that maybe he can't make with his arm. I think we need to get the ball in Tyreek Hill as much as physically possible. He should be on kick return. He should be on punt return. He should be in the backfield because he's faster than everybody on the field. And we're playing a bad offense. So what we really, really need in this game is points. I don't see the New York Jets coming in and throwing up 30 points on us with that offense with Mike White. If that happens and our defense is just getting torched, there you go. There's your Josh Boyer criticism, because this is a bad offense right now. And there are a lot of players on this team that know the season's over, that don't want to get their bodies hurt going into next year. So to me, you get Skylar Thompson with some designed runs. I don't think we haven't done that. The Jets aren't going to be prepped for it. So Mike McDaniel's a run game specialist. Put in some designed runs for Skylar Thompson. Let him use his feet. Get Tyreek Hill all over the place and get the ball in his hands. Even if they're playing up a little bit, I like our odds with Tyreek Hill touching the ball a lot. I think those are things that we can do that will help Skylar Thompson a lot. Other than that, run. Like we have got to keep Skylar Thompson out of 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s. And the way to do that is you got to commit, even if they're playing it, you got to commit to like run pass, so that you're making sure Skylar Thompson's getting like 3rd and 4s and 3rd and 3s, that he can run with the ball, he can make easy completions. And we don't know if Teron Armstead's playing, right? He's going to try, but we don't know.
It's looking like they're going to play.
I mean, I would hope that with their playoff hopes on the line, that they're all going to suck it up.
Yeah, the story was that all 3 guys were going to play against New England. And then Chris Greer told the coach that all 3 guys were not available. And then, this week it's looking like
Greer.
I would
hold
say,
on. Wait, hold on. Greer told McDaniel you can't have these 3.
Yeah, McDaniel said, he said it on his availability. McDaniel said that usually the trainer comes up to him, but he said that this time the decision was the trainers and the general manager is the one that informed them that none of the 3 guys could go.
Why does Greer have the ability to tell McDaniel that he can't have his players? That doesn't,
because he's on the field and he's talking to the trainers, and he's the one who's paying out the salaries. So maybe he thought, some of these guys, if they're 60-40, if they're 50-50, they're going to hold them out. It was obvious that one of them didn't look like he was going to play, which was Xavier Howard. That one was obvious.
Could be he was just making the call that he wanted him as healthy as possible for the Jets game, knowing that they would have been detrimental in the Patriots game. They were banged up enough. Just a thought. I mean, maybe. Chris Greer is...
We do know that Bradley Chubb has upgraded because he was on the field warming up against the Patriots with a club. And now he doesn't have a club anymore. He has like a wrist cast now. So that's an upgrade. That's better.
I mean, but Chris Greer, he's on a hotter seat than Mike McDaniel, wouldn't you say? Yes. I would say he is. So, I mean, I could understand him maybe saying he's going to make that call because his job's getting close, He has the authority to do it. So,
I mean, I the only issue I have with firing Chris Greer is that Chris Greer was able to put this roster together in the first place. Like the only thing you can arguably and I say this arguably because I still am not one of these truthers out there who say that, oh, we picked the wrong quarterback and Justin Herbert's the king of all. I'm like, no, I don't do that, man.
No, I was just pointing out why maybe he made the call to rest those guys because his
no,
job
I know what
was-
you're saying, but what I'm saying is that a lot of people are asking to fire Greer because he picked Tua over Herbert. Like Herbert would have
Oh,
been like
no.
Yeah,
Herbert would have been
to the
bigger
people
and
that want to
stronger,
fire, the people that want to fire Chris Greer. Look, if firing him makes you feel good, go ahead and do it because Chris Greer already built the core of this team. You're not getting.
Right.
Are you getting rid of Christian Wilkins? No.
No.
Are you
My
getting
God,
rid of
no.
Javon Holland? No.
No.
Are you getting rid of Jalen Phillips? No. Are you getting rid of Bradley Chubb? No. Even if you wanted to, you can't for 2 years. Are you getting rid of Jalen Waddle? No. Are you getting rid of Tyreek Hill? No. Are you getting rid of Teron Armstead? No. Are you getting rid of Connor Williams? No. Are you getting rid of Robert Hunt? No. Are you noticing how many names I'm mentioning that you kind of like?
Yeah,
That's the core of the
I'm
team.
agreed.
So if you're firing Greer, the new GM is just coming here to build the depth, to just go get the guys behind those guys.
No, I don't see the logic in firing just Chris Greer. I understand the logic in getting rid of Boyer because I don't think McDaniel can coordinate defense. So, if you can go get a Vic Fangio or somebody like that, great. I mean, go get a better defensive coordinator. I'm all for that. And I'm not for get rid of Tua, get rid of McDaniel, but I am for improve the team if you can. And so I don't think we improve our team at all getting rid of Chris Greer. I don't know who you're going to bring in.
An off season of building this team back up. Again, remember, this is the one thing that we are missing. This is the one thing we're missing out on. I'm going to bring this up before we make our picks. This is still Mike McDaniel's first season. This is Tua's first season with Mike McDaniel. And already we are seeing what this team can be when it's firing on all cylinders. And by the way, this is with, I'm going to bring this up also, this is with a tight end who I always bet the under on Prize Picks because he always gets it for me. He never gets more than one catch per game at this point. So he's literally useless because he can't even block on top of all that.
What this
He's not
system
useless.
has
He's
done,
winning you money on Prize Picks.
what
Yeah,
this
it's
system
one of
has
the Prize
done,
Picks.
because everybody said, but he's a really good pass receiving tight end. No, he's not. What
Yeah.
this season has done is
It's kind of exposed him.
It's exposed him as a pass receiver because he used to get everything he got on 50-50 balls and everything was contested. And since he's bigger and has a bigger catch radius, he could win a lot of those balls.
That's why he
But
likes
this year-
Fitzpatrick so much.
But this year, watch the tape. Watch him run about a bow route.
Yeah.
He doesn't give targets to his. If he's not completely open, he doesn't help his quarterback, no matter who it is. Whether it's
And
Tua
he's
or
absolutely a
anybody else.
liability if you watch him block. He's not a
Yes.
good blocker.
Yeah, but we knew that going in. Like the day we drafted him, he knew we couldn't.
I
he knew we
think
couldn't block.
Miami did know that. That's why they tagged him. They didn't give him a contract because I think they probably looked at him and McDaniel said, "Well, we'll see what we can do with him." And there's no mystery, Mike. He's gone after
Right.
that.
So that's what I'm saying. There's so much fat that can still be trimmed off this team, and the resources can be added elsewhere. And this is why I'm saying,
All right.
obviously, salary cap gonna go up because NFL money, they
Right.
go hand in hand. You're gonna have the extensions done for Christian Wilkins. That'll probably lower his first year cap hit. That's gonna be a no-brainer. If I'm the Dolphins, I'm trying to see if I can get Connor Williams to sign another deal because I really like what he's doing, and he's only going to get better, I think.
Is
I
he-
wouldn't do that. Connor
How long-
Williams, he still has 2 more years.
That's why I
Oh,
say
he does?
contract.
Okay. I thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought
They
he was
just got
a
him.
deal.
So.
Yeah. So and if
Wilkins
you start
is the big
opening,
one.
if you start opening up that contract, Connor Williams is going to ask you for way too much money. Centers make a lot of money.
Okay.
They make $12-13 million a year.
Okay,
So
that's fair.
what you want to do is just ride out these 2 years, until
Okay.
they ask you for money.
Okay, that's fair.
They're not. I don't think Miami's that cap strapped as people think they are. I think they'll be okay.
No, they're gonna
to
have
make
money.
some moves,
And
but-
by the way, I don't know if there's any proof of this. I think I'm starting to lean more into what Ron is saying, that I think it's done, but I still feel like Byron Jones is best bet if he wants to continue
Lewis,
playing.
no,
Yes,
this guy is done.
I feel like his best bet, if he ever wants to play again, is to come back to Miami, take a pay cut, because other teams are going to be looking at him skeptically, like, you missed the whole season. Why? So they're not going to
I
give
don't
him as
trust
much
But
money.
I think he has a base salary for next year, Byron Jones.
He
So-
does.
Let me see.
He has to be a
Yeah.
post-June cut.
But that's
to
what
make
I'm
that
saying.
cut.
He's like, Albert Wilson took a pay cut to stay in Miami. And so Byron Jones is kind of in a similar boat right now because he was supposed to be ready week 1 and he never showed up.
Yeah,
he
I
never
don't
showed
know.
up. And regardless of the reasons why he never showed up, and even if he was trying to come and he didn't, because for one reason or another, right now he's in a situation where other teams are going to be looking at him like, what the hell happened to you? Why should I pay you X amount of money to come in here and we're not even sure if you can still play? That's why I feel like in Byron Jones's case specifically, his best course of action is to try to stay in Miami and yes, straight up take a pay cut because that's what Albert Wilson did. He doesn't have to. He's free to test the free agent market. I'm sure that Miami Dolphins are going to give him that option. You can stay or you can go. But
Look,
I don't.
Look, I'll give you some speculation on Byron Jones. I'm going to look him up on
Spot track. That's what I was trying to do too.
Over the cap.
He saves a pretty good chunk if you designate him a post-June first cut. I'm pretty sure because I looked at it a few weeks ago. I don't remember the exact number, but
I mean, you save him. You save $14 million if he's a post-June 1st cut, but which is a lot of money. I get it, but right now, like I'm still trying to make sure that I keep good pieces on defense. And if Byron Jones takes a pay cut, I'm willing to take on somebody like because we were willing to give. Who was it? Janoris Jenkins, like $10 million to come off the street, and we don't even know.
Here's the thing, like for Byron Jones, I mean, you got to look at reality. So either he's played the Dolphins and he decided to sit the year out on guaranteed money. That's possibility one, or possibility two. Something went wrong with that surgery because it was only supposed to be like training camp. He was out, right, and he's missed the entire year on an Achilles surgery. So something didn't go right, which tells me he's not right physically. He has, I mean, it's been up practically, what was it, March he had that surgery done? If it's not healed right by now, what makes people think it's going to be healed right next
When's
year?
it ever going to be right?
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
something's not right.
there's a lot of months between the then and now.
But then he'll be, what, 30, 31? And so,
right? So that's why you don't make him your that's why you give him that option. Listen, you either take a pay cut and stay here and we will give you your money, or you can go test the free agent market and good luck getting up to $5 million
at what point though is it too risky to rely on him? Like if there's something wrong with him.
I'm not relying on him. I'm giving him an option to stay or go.
We need a corner on him because I don't know where Nick Needham's going to be at. I don't think Kader Kohu. I think he's better served to be our slot guy.
Nick Needham's going to want to get paid. I don't think the Dolphins will pay him.
Well, and Nick Needham's just coming off an Achilles. Is he going to be the same? So we probably need to take some of that money and whether we use it at one of our second round draft picks or go get a solid free agent, we need a good corner to come in. And I don't know that I can rely on after he's just missed this whole season. Again, he's either playing the Dolphins for money or he's got something wrong with him, one of the two. And so that makes me very tentative to, what happens if you go next year and he can't return and you go a whole other season now that you relied on him to be on the roster at least. And so you want to have him be a backup corner and have him take up backup corner money. Sure. Then I'll take the risk on him, but I'm not going to pay him expecting him to be our starting corner right now.
Right. But
what you do is that you're going to transition to a different scheme that's not going to be so reliant on man coverage on the outside on your corners. So then you could spend a little less money outside, and then you're probably going to spend more money on linebackers and safeties.
I know that makes Chad happy. Linebackers.
Well, what I would do, is
we need a middle line. I don't know the mystery of Channing Tindall. What happened with him? I mean, he's a fantastic athlete, but I think he's played 9 snaps or something this year. And I watch Elandon Roberts. Yeah, he can stuff the run up the middle. That's all he can do. He can't cover. He can't go sideline to sideline. He's way too slow. And I watch Channing Tindall, and that guy's he's like shot out of a cannon. He flies sideline to sideline. So I don't understand where the failure was on the defensive side to get him involved. But well, then if that's true, why did we draft him? Like if he's
Mike McDaniel's fault.
What?
Mike McDaniel can't coach. That's why.
He made
it is partially. Did he sign off on the pick or not? I mean, we that was our first pick of the draft, right? Was Channing Tindall. I mean, when he was a
third round pick. It was a project, and I feel like
he was the first guy we took in the draft, though, right?
He was the first guy we took in the draft. Yes. And
do you take a guy in the third round, your first pick, to play 9 snaps the whole season? I mean, it doesn't make sense to me.
And his fourth round pick has played 0 snaps this season.
I mean, and he's not playing. It's not like we've got a stud in front of me. Landon Roberts is a liability on the field at times. I mean, there's reasons like we struggle sometimes we do not have a middle linebacker that can get out into the flats at all. He can just stuff the run up the middle, and that's all that guy can do. He's tough. He's a leader. I get it, but I mean, you put an agility drill and look at what Channing Tyndall can do versus Landon Roberts. He'll run circles around the guy. He's way more athletic. It's frustrating to me because we're struggling with athleticism right now in our linebacking core. We have to pull Landon Roberts off the field all the time and throw in Duke Riley in his place. And I just think Channing Tyndall's a better athlete than all of them. But I digress. I'm just saying we do need linebackers.
I also think that Josh Boyer has misused Jerome Baker. Look at him in the Packer game when Bradley Chubb got hurt. Look how good all of a sudden Jerome Baker looked when they started playing him as the buck linebacker. Yeah, he was rushing the passer. All of a sudden, all of a sudden he started putting pressure on the quarterback, and it's better to have him doing that than have him chase running backs all over the field on third down.
Yeah,
you know, like we know he can do it in the flats because he's quick. But if you can have him out, you know, covering guys 20, 30 yards down the field, that's not him. That's not what he does.
No, I've been frustrated. I'm not like suggesting Boyer's doing a great job. I was criticizing McDaniel for not making changes with what was going on. Because I don't know if you guys, I'm getting tired of seeing 3rd and 13 and us going up into a zero blitz formation and not getting back and teams getting first downs out of it. I mean, it's insane. It's like, just sit back and let them catch the ball in front of you and tackle them. And we do it over and over. How often does our team give up 3rd and longs? Like, we got to be one of the worst in the league at it. It's crazy. We put ourselves in position to make it easier for teams to convert it. And everybody's seen us in the zero blitz look where we bring everybody up on the line and then we try to fool them and fall back. And we just put our guys out of position to cover in spaces. But that's a side note. Anyway, I agree. We need linebackers, and I think we need a corner. We need some more offensive linemen going into this offseason, no matter what happens in this playoff game.
No more Robert Jones. No more Austin Jackson.
Jones has been great. He's been
he hasn't. No, I refuse to take that.
He's a backup. He's a backup lineman that cost us nothing.
Best.
Yeah, but he cost us nothing. I look at Austin Jackson. That's a first-round pick.
Give me a left guard that doesn't need Teron Armstead to make up for his lack of
adequacy. At what was Liam Eichenberg, a second-round pick? He's struggling. I mean, those guys should be the foundation of our line, and they're just not. And so I hope next year it's time to give up on those guys. I mean, don't you guys think we should be giving up on Austin Jackson and Liam?
Yeah, I gave up on Austin Jackson 2 years ago.
No, I don't think they should be giving up on Eichenberg because he was playing good before he got hurt. I think Austin Jackson is done now.
I think they're 3/5 of the way to an elite offensive line.
A Cowboys-esque offensive line.
Because they have 3 really, they have 3 high level. If you believe PFF, and I don't, by the way, when it comes to grading offensive linemen, but if you believe them, we have 3 top 10 offensive linemen. Okay, which is a good thing.
But you trust?
I believe my own eyes, and I know that Teron Armstead is a stud. He's a top 5 left tackle. Period.
Agreed. And that's with him injured.
I think Connor Williams. Connor Williams is probably a top 5 center.
I agree
because he's been really, really good, and I think Robert Hunt is probably a top 10 guard. So
yeah, he needs a little more consistency, but talent-wise, he's definitely up there. Yeah.
So it's obvious to me where they had to spend their free agent dollars. Go get another stud at right tackle. End of story.
Well, in particular, if you're going to get a second-tier quarterback again as your backup, you better put the best possible offensive line in there.
Alf, I have a question. Do you think, given an extra offseason to heal, so to speak, Eric Fisher could do the job at right tackle?
I think that they're looking at Eric Fisher as the future swing tackle. I think that's who they want to be the swing tackle.
Okay, but that's the backup. You don't think he could be starter?
No. I think they're going to give him a long look this offseason, and I think they're going to decide that's the swing tackle.
What's his age? He's 30, 31?
How old? Yeah, he's like 31. So he's coming to the end of it, but he has that little window where offensive linemen are still pretty effective. The offensive linemen are pretty effective from like 30 to 34.
Apparently, if you're a left guard, you can be like 38 and still ball, like Josh Sitton, Evan Mathis. I don't know what.
Yeah, old guys. There's a lot of old guys that could, come off the street and play well for one season. Like that's possible. But no, they're gonna have to go get a stud right tackle.
Right. We got that. I mean, Shell has done an admirable job for what he is, and I'd be completely fine with keeping him on the roster as a backup tackle next year with Eric Fisher. To me, that's a great move. If we can get a stud, right?
They've also been fooled a lot by these guys because they trusted Greg Little all off season as the swing tackle, and then he gets thrust into the Ravens game, and they watch him and they're like, wait, whoa, this guy's like actually really good. Like this guy is.
We thought so.
Yeah, we saw him in that Raven game, and we're like, this guy's like really good. Like maybe we hit gold here. Then he looks okay against the Bills the following week, and then you start seeing whoa. Because it was right away. It was the Jet game. He didn't look all that great, but you're giving him a pass because it's still fresh in your mind that he played really well against the Ravens and he was okay against the Bills. But then came that Minnesota game, and he was an unmitigated disaster. And you could see that
unmitigated disaster.
And then you could see that they themselves said, no, bring up Brandon Shell, and Brandon Shell has to play now. And then Greg Little got shuffled all the way back. So they're learning.
And Shell looked good. The same thing.
This entire season has been an audition for who the swing tackle is gonna be, and it got so bad to the point where they went out and they signed Eric Fisher to compete.
Did not
for that
do
spot.
anything, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, the guy was out of football for a year.
No,
so.
I know, but it's like he got hurt the moment he walked on the football field. That was the very.
Well, he's practicing this week, so I can't wait to see him actually be active as the swing tackle, because one of those guys are going to get.
We
hurt.
hope so, anyway. But by the way, if that is to happen, Miami may have to make the playoffs. Which here we go. It's pick time. We're starting to fall back into bad habits. 2 hours. Okay. So here's the deal. Like it or not, we are reliant on Buffalo to beat New England if we want to get to the playoffs, and we have to win against the Jets. So I don't want to get into the whole Patriots-Bills thing right now because that's a whole slew of problems. Again, DeMar Hamlin, rooting for you. Hope you get better. But there is a lot of stuff going on. What's Buffalo going to do at this point? We don't know. We're going to have to find out, and we can only
play and kick the crap out of the Patriots is what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay.
That's what I vote for.
If we're playing the speaking into existence game, then yes, I agree with you. Absolutely.
No, it's not. It's not about speaking it into existence. The Bills can go out there and Josh Allen can play left-handed, and they'll beat the Patriots. They're at home. They're getting healthier now. And let's face it, the Patriots are bad.
But Alp, you don't think they might be a little zoned out because they're worried about their buddy?
I'm hoping they want to win so bad for him.
That's the other possibility. That is the other possibility, that they decide that they're going to go out there and absolutely destroy New England because they're pissed.
The reality is Buffalo's the number one seed right now, and they need to protect that. They want to win a Super Bowl. That's a huge advantage, being the number one seed. So they're not going to lay down for the Patriots. I guarantee that. I mean, they beat the crap out of us when they had no reason, when Tua's rookie year. I mean, they had no reason to even play starters in that game, and they beat the crap out of us. So they better show up and try to beat the crap out of the Patriots.
So, okay, so now here we go. Pick time. This is the part I've been dreading because I already know my pick. I'm just going to make my pick. I'm not even going to ask for MVPs and stuff this week because at this point, I don't even know who I can pick. All right. I'm going to be that guy because I don't think the Dolphins win. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. I don't even think it's because of the offense. I think that Skylar Thompson will be good enough to get us 14 points. But if it comes down to the defense, I just don't trust this defense, even at home. Right now, the way they're playing, right now, the way things are going, I can't see the Dolphins getting out of this skid. I don't think McDaniel should be fired over it, and I don't think Tua should be replaced over it. But the way things are going, I don't see a way out for Miami. I think the Jets are going to win. I think they're going to win something along the lines of 21-14.
Well, I have a habit of picking the better team every week to win, and I'm going to pick Miami to win again because they're at home.
Okay,
and they'll beat the Jets if they don't turn it over. I said it last week.
It's that if though that beats me, Alf, because
I said last week. I said last week, and everybody and people laughed, and I was because I kind of made a joke. I said, "Look, theoretically," and it's right there on it's on the podcast. I said so. Okay, theoretically, they could punt on first down the entire game, and they'll beat the Patriots because the Patriots only win games when they get turnovers, and more often when they score off of those turnovers. Of course, how did the Dolphins lose the game? On a pick six. So I'm telling you, you don't turn it over against this team. They just don't have enough. And Miami has enough to make it ugly enough to win. And I'll say they win 17-9.
Me? Here, who do you want to go? You're around to go? Or?
I'll go. I got the Jets 20, Dolphins 17.
So you think the Jets win too?
Yeah,
Chad?
I just don't think we're going to be able to produce any offense, really. Not much to speak of.
I'm pretty confident this one the Dolphins are going to win it. I just know historically in teams, the Jets have problems right now at the quarterback position. Mike White's
Yeah, they got a
struggled.
3-headed hydra that they just chopped the head off of one of.
And Mike White has not played a lot this year.
And people don't understand. People don't understand. The Dolphins are on a 5-game skid. So are the Jets. But the Dolphins 5-game skid, they're losing a lot of close games. The Jets are just getting beat up and blown out in their 5-game skid. Like they're on the way out.
The difference though is Miami's at home and they got everything to play for, and the Jets is just it's pride right now. And so and some of their key leaders on the Jets are young. I mean, Garrett Wilson's young, guys like that. And so to me, I'm going under the caveat that Xavier Howard's playing and Tron Armstead both are playing. And I think this is where guys like where Mostert and Tyreek Hill, these guys are Pro Bowl players that have been in the league for a while. This is where you show up and play your best football. And then I just think we have a lot more Pro Bowl talented veteran players right now to show up and play really well in this game. I can't, other than like the Houston Texans or something like that, I can't think of a better matchup for us right now with the team with where they're at. The Jets are ready for the season. They're off into the offseason already with the things they want to do. And I look for them to be just trying to audition Mike White more than there's. I mean, the Jets' whole story going into next year is who's their quarterback. I mean, we know Tua is a good quarterback, right? Who is the Jets' quarterback next year right now? And they don't know. They don't have an answer for that.
Derek Carr.
Well, they don't have an answer for that, and that's their priority in this game right now is to audition Mike White. So, are they going to be ultra conservative, making play calls, to convert a third down, or are they going to be trying to throw routes to see what Mike White can do under pressure and in pressure situations? So I think there's a lot of things going for the Dolphins in this game. So I would say for a score, I want to put Miami 24, Jets 10 in this one.
Okay. Well, I hope that you and Alf are correct, Chad, and I hope that me and Ron are very, very wrong. And by the way, there was from CA Kingfin, will win, but other games may not line up. There's literally only one game.
There's only one.
That matters.
Yeah.
Only
one
and
game.
We don't
matters.
even know if it's going to be played yet. So it's a weird season.
And I'll tell you another thing to watch in this Jets game. If Miami somehow can get it together enough to blow the Jets out, they could get Robert Saleh fired. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your new defensive coordinator for next season.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, I'd be so down with that. Oh, my Lord. Oh, yeah.
They are really, really good friends. Yeah. Like, I don't know if you saw Robert Saleh's comment.
Yeah, they can hang out at the pool together.
Yeah. So, yeah. You got to remember, they came up together at the same exact time in San Francisco. One just got a job earlier than the other. That was all.
Hey, I don't know. I don't follow the Jets to know how hot Robert Saleh's seat is right now. But I do know a lot of times you like to change the coach when you change the quarterback. And they're clearly are going to be changing the quarterback. But this is a little out there. But, if Robert Saleh suspects he's going, it's in his best interest to maybe not even win this game. I mean, to go to Miami then, you know what I mean? So
I don't think anybody wants to be.
I don't say he's going to throw the game. I'm just saying, Robert Saleh, he might be eyeing that in the back of his mind anyway right now.
Nah, I think he wants.
I think he's coaching for his job, and I think his players like him, and I don't think anyone's letting up. Even guys like Mosley and stuff, no one's letting up on this game.
I don't know.
All right.
Just as you said, the Bills didn't do 3 years ago when they had nothing to play for, and they still lit us up. We've seen that in the past where we think, oh, these guys have nothing to play for.
I don't know if you guys did. You guys see
and then they light us up. Yeah.
Did you guys see all those schedule proposals that came out this past week?
Yeah, I don't.
And
do you guys have any predictions? Oh, go ahead.
There's one that's making the rounds, which is actually pretty favorable to the Miami Dolphins, which is they're going to give everybody essentially a bye so they could get that Bengals Buffalo Bills game in, which means that the games go on as scheduled this week, and then the playoffs will go on the following week in the NFC, right? And then there's going to be a bye for the AFC. Then the AFC playoffs will go, and then they'll play the divisional round, which means one gets a bye going into the wild card round, while the other gets a bye going into the divisional round, which kind of evens it out, and that way you get to get that game in. But if that were the case, and that's actually being talked about, and it'll be talked about and done in that particular fashion, if that is the case, you get an extra week to get healthy, and that means that Tua absolutely will play in a game, and you can get your entire team healthy for that first round.
That was a
wild card
recorded
game.
condition, right? He has to play they have to make it to the playoffs.
That's what Jay Glazer says. Dolphins make the playoffs. Tua's playing. So
I think looking at it, there's some things what the NFL is not going to do, and what they're not going to do is they're not going to make Buffalo play Cincinnati on a short week. So I don't think you're going to see them say, all right, the Buffalo is going to play Cincinnati on Thursday now after the Patriots game or something like that. I don't think they're going to do that. And so I think it's almost inevitable that they're going to have to use that dead week leading up to the Super Bowl. I think that's almost has to happen at this point because the game's too crucial. If this were a game between two non-playoff teams, everybody would be like, whatever, just play it whenever, right?
But is there any scenario where it won't matter? Like, what if Kansas City loses this week?
Then Buffalo would still need to win that game.
Yeah,
but
no matter what, no matter what, that game is going to matter because think about it. If you don't get the 1 seed, you absolutely want the 2 seed, right? Because the 2 seed means you play 2 home games to get to the AFC Championship game. If you get the 3 seed, you're traveling in round 2, probably to Cincinnati,
right?
And
Cincinnati's the 3 seed, and so Cincinnati. It's not just Buffalo. Cincinnati, that's a crucial game for. They need to win that game, and so you can't seed the AFC playoffs with the 2 of the top 3 seeds are at that game. And so it can't be seeded without that. So that game has to be played. And I think the NFL looked terrible in their handling of trying to get those guys back on the field to keep that game going. And I know they're using language like, "Oh, we never said anything." By not saying anything, you said everything. Yeah. They were waiting to see what the players or coaches said. The NFL's job is to step in and say, "All right, this game's canceled." They didn't want that game canceled because they realized that the situation was going to put them in. And they looked pretty bad. And so now
the game, they said that the game is postponed, not suspended. So that means that the game would start 7-3 Cincinnati with the time on the clock and the ball where it was, everything. Like they'll just keep the game going as it was.
Just hitting pause on the Madden button.
Oh, I don't think you can restart.
Does that make it the longest game in NFL history?
Maybe
the Dolphins,
it's still
Titans?
going on. It's still going on
officially.
But I guess my point is what they're not going to do is I think the NFL looks terrible with the situation if you tell Buffalo you've got to play this weekend, which they haven't done that yet. We still aren't confirmed they're playing the Patriots this weekend.
No, that's confirmed now. That's confirmed. All the games on Sunday are happening. Yes.
So if Buffalo plays the Patriots this Sunday, the NFL would look bad to tell them they got to play right away again against Cincinnati and squeeze it in to leave the schedule the same. So they almost have to account for a dead week somewhere, and you've got to let that game get finished. So I don't think there's any choice but to give at a minimum the AFC an extra week before the playoffs start, or the whole league an extra week before the playoffs start. And to me, they'll probably just do the whole league. So like there'll be the week after this Buffalo Patriots game, probably like on a Saturday or Sunday, Buffalo will play Cincinnati. Everybody else will just wait a week, and then they'll proceed as usual without all the seedings in place. I think that's what'll happen. So it makes sense to me.
All right. We got to call it here. Ron needed to go like 15 minutes ago, but he's hanging in there. So
go ahead. Sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We made our picks. Chad and I think. Ron. It's Ron and I who think the Jets are going to win. It's Alf and Ron or Chad. Oh, I'm tired. Alfredo Arteaga and Chad Ronenbaum think Miami wins. Ron Caniff and Louis Sung both think the Jets win. Let's go ahead and end it off here. Did I say that wrong again?
No, you said it right that time.
Okay,
got it
I'm,
right
I'm
there.
starting to get like Chad and his San Diego Chargers thing. It's like I don't remember if I'm
I
saying
don't
it
care.
right.
They're the San Diego Chargers.
They're the Chargers, dang it.
And it's the Oakland Raiders. I don't care where they're at.
Okay, here's
All right,
something
go
I
ahead.
can
They're
definitely
the
say.
St. Louis Rams.
Here's something I definitely know how to say correctly. PricePicks.com. Use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. They'll match up to $100 on your deposit when you sign up. I've actually been on a good little winning streak myself. I just need Kyrie Irving to do his job tonight, and I'll probably win again. So go ahead, get on over there. Use the promo code 5. That's FIVE. They'll match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. It helps us out. It helps you out. Go ahead, go do it right now. All right. Anything else we need to say? Probably not. Let's go. I'm not even going to give you all the chance. Go Dolphins. Fins up. Please, for the love of God, New England, lose to Buffalo. And let's get out of home with a win for once. All right. Good night, everybody.